can you come in for surgery tomorrow morning? And we were like, what? Why, hello there. Welcome to my living room. Today is time for another story time. I recently got a dental procedure done. Okay, so you're gonna put me to sleep now?
Yes.
So, as of now, she won't remember anything.
Okay.
Good morning. Happy hour's over.
And I mentioned in that video that I, at one point when I was 14, had to get emergency dental surgery, and it was quite a situation, wasn't it, Mother?
It was awful.
It was awful. It was so terrible. This procedure has been nothing compared to that. Nothing. The procedure I had when I was 14, girl, it's a story and a half. Ooh, grab yourself a coffee, a little iced latte. Apparently not everywhere has these lids. Apparently most places still have the straw. Way to go, LA Starbucks. Anyways, grab yourself a drink as well because it's gonna be a long one. Wow, where to even begin? So, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know grade 8 was hell, living hell, an actual nightmare, something I would not wish upon my worst enemy, something that I would never redo, something that I frankly don't know how I got through, and I'm like very proud of myself. Like when people ask what accomplishment in my life am I most proud of, like getting through that year is my answer. Getting through the depression, the bullying, the vision loss, the sickness, everything I went through that year because it was really terrible. So 2008, I went blind, lost all my friends, was depressed, was self-harming, was suicidal, like just in a really bad place. Where do I even begin? I had been really, really, really sick. My immune system was very compromised. They thought I had mono. Yeah, on top of everything else, they thought I had mono, but it ended up not being mono. They ended up basically saying like it's like mono, but it's like an unknown virus type of thing. Right, Mom? That's what they ended up going with?
Yes.
It was just like...
It was a virus.
It was just a virus that basically replicated mono without being mono. I was just so burnt out. My body was done. It was giving up on me. I stopped getting my period, which I talked about in my video about how I deal with getting my period as a blind woman. I'll link it below. My body was just a wreck. I was really slim. I lost a lot of weight. I was in a really bad place. Like mentally, spiritually, physically, everything was a mess. And I actually think it was the last day I went to school before you pulled me out. That morning is when I went to the dentist.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that was a real bad day. I was sleeping on the floor in my parents' room, so they kept like a mattress under their bed, and if I couldn't sleep, I would go and I would like pull the mattress out and sleep under floor because I was dealing, like I said, with a lot of depression and anxiety, and I was in a really bad place. So I was sleeping in their bedroom so they could like keep an eye on me, and I felt comfortable and safe and like supported. And so I woke up this morning, which was about 6 weeks before the end of grade 8, but I didn't attend the rest of grade 8. I finished grade 8 from home. So it was springtime, and I had this searing pain through the right side of my jaw, like right down here, like this sharp shooting pain that woke me up in the morning. And I told my mom immediately, and she's like, I had a lot of dental problems growing up. I had like my first root canal when I was 8 years old. I had a lot of cavities. I had to go to a childhood dental specialist. Like I just had bad teeth. I had already had braces and gotten them removed. I got my retainer when I was in grade 5, braces in grade 6, and braces off at the end of grade 7. So I was already a year without braces when this happened. So immediately she's like, hopefully it's not like an abscess or something. Let's call the dentist. So she calls the dentist and they slot me in for their like emergency appointment for the day, which was in the morning. So we go in and they take x-rays and they're like, yeah, we've got a problem. Your wisdom teeth are a problem. Keep in mind, most people get their wisdom teeth out like earliest 16. A lot of people get it like 18, 19, 20. Nope, I had just turned 14 in February and it was now May, early May. And they were like, yeah, this is an issue. So they put me on prescription painkillers and they got me a referral to go to a wisdom tooth specialist. So on the painkillers, my mom dropped me back to school and stuff went down that day, and it was the last day I attended school. So that should tell you that real bad stuff went down that day. My mom pulled me out of school that day, and my parents agreed that I would finish grade 8 from home. So that was the decision we made, and that kind of worked out really well because once I went to go see this specialist, very quickly, they got me like right into the specialist. He looked at my mouth, and he looked at the x-rays, and he's like, we've got to get these out like tomorrow. Can you come in for surgery tomorrow morning? And we were like, what? Like, what is such an emergency? And he basically ended up explaining, my mouth is really small, like the rest of me. I'm 25 years old, almost 26 years old, and I'm like 4'10" and a half. Like, I'm real tiny. My feet are a size 5, size 3 kids. Like, I'm just small. Like, my hands are teeny. So just like that, my mouth is super small. And he basically explained my 12-year-old molars had not come in yet. So the way my mouth was sitting, my 6-year-old molars were like the last tooth in my mouth. Underneath those were my 12-year-old molars, and underneath those were 4 impacted wisdom teeth that all decided they wanted to grow in. So they were literally uprooting my 6-year-old molars by trying to like push them up. So that was why I was in searing pain in my jaw. So the next morning, like, I was so upset. I was like, I don't want surgery tomorrow. Like, I am not prepared for this. And it was all like candy after midnight and all this stuff. So I made a deal with my mom that if I could have my favorite dinner and she would take me shopping to get like a new sweater, then I would do the surgery tomorrow. So I went out and I shopped, and I went to a Canadian skater store called West 49, and I picked out my new sweater that I wore to my surgery, and I think I had my favorite chocolate lava cake that night for dessert. And the next morning, bright and early, I went in for surgery. They let Gypsy in the pre-operation room when I was being put to sleep, and I was very terrified of needles at this time, so they put laughing gas on. Like, they gave me laughing gas before they put the needle in so that my body would kind of feel numb and tingly, and I'd be all like, woo. And then they put the needle in, and the next thing I remember is waking up in the room, and I was in one of those like operating beds, and I had all the gauze stuffed in my mouth. And what they had decided to do when they were in my mouth is remove the 4 impacted wisdom teeth, but also remove the back chunks of my gum on my lower jaw. So like, if you put your tongue at the back of your mouth, it's like you have your tooth, but then you have like kind of some gum, and then your jaw starts to go up. So they kind of like removed the chunks of gum at that part of my mouth, and then took my 12-year-old molars from underneath my 6-year-old molars and like pulled them to the side and up through that hole that they've created. So they basically forced my 12-year-old molars to come in on top of also removing my 4 impacted wisdom teeth while my immune system and body was completely destroyed. And so I went home. I don't remember much. My mom, they put me out in a wheelchair into the car. My mom drove me home. I slept a ton that day. They gave me Tylenol 3 T3s for pain. And I was on those T3s for a month. I couldn't open my jaw. Like, I just kept my jaw clenched because I was in so much pain. And I was sleeping on my parents' floor still. And I had to be on around the clock on those T3s because if my body ran out of the T3s, the pain I would feel in that lower jaw was so incredibly awful. I would like wake up at 5 a.m. when my T3s had worn off from going to bed. And I'd be in so much pain that my mom would take me, and I'd take my T3, she'd put me in the front seat of the car in like the dark morning, and she would just drive me around in the car until I fell asleep again from pain. Like, she would just try to like, because I've always been somebody who falls asleep in moving vehicles, so she'd just stick me in the front seat of the car at 5 a.m. until the T3s would kick in and I could sleep again, because I was just in such bad pain. I could hardly eat anything because you're not allowed to use straws because you can't suck because the stitches. And so I would literally just eat, like, I would maybe be able to get some macaroni and cheese down, maybe some smoothies, and that was it. And I had hardly been eating going into the surgery too, because I'm somebody who, when I'm depressed, I don't eat. I say I'm an emotional uneater. You know, a lot of people emotionally eat. I don't. So I was already so slim from not eating much, and my body was already so used to not eating much food that I was hardly eating. I was taking all these heavy T3s on my empty stomach. It was just like destroying my stomach, and it was really bad. And it took like at least a solid month of me literally all day, every day and night, just laying in bed. Wasn't it, Mom?
Yeah. Oh, it was so bad.
I was so swollen. I was so bruised. And I think, like, yes, they did more than just my wisdom teeth. Like, they really did all the, like, work with my 12-year-old molars. So I don't think it would have been as bad if it had just been my 4 impacted wisdom teeth. But I think because of the mental and physical and emotional state my body was already in, that's ultimately what made it so bad. And I was also, like, I had injured my ankle that year, so I still had my ankle brace on. My body, you guys, it was freaking done. It was done. Oh, my mom just reminded me. So it was week 1 post-op, and I was still in like absolute agony. Mornings and nights were the worst. I would wake up at 5 o'clock, 4:30 or 5 o'clock almost every morning, like in pain, having to take my T3s. And at night it would get really, really bad too, which is like common when you're sick. Like usually mornings and nights are the worst, middays usually like the best. So it was nighttime, week 1, post-op. I was talking like this is how I would talk the whole time because I was like, my jaw was so swollen and sore that I didn't even want to like open and close it. So I would just talk like this. It was great. And my family pet Rory and my guide dog Gypsy at the time were out in our backyard running around, and Rory he was such a tyrant. He chased a freaking skunk and got sprayed directly in the mouth by the skunk. And then he was a sheepdog, so it was all in his hair, and he came running into the house, foaming at the mouth. He was sprayed in the mouth and shaking all of the spray onto my guide dog Gypsy. And if you've never smelled skunk spray when it hits something at first, it does not smell like the smell you know as skunk smell. It smells like gasoline. Like that's the best thing I can say it smells like is gasoline. We don't know what's happened because it doesn't smell like skunk. It just smells horrible, and he's foaming at the mouth and he's like shaking and spraying it everywhere. And he goes and he runs upstairs to my parents' room and he goes under their bed on their cream carpet and starts rubbing himself. And I was gagging because, oh my God, my stomach was so wrecked and hardly had food, and it was on all these T3s, and I was just gagging, and my jaw hurt so much that I couldn't even open it was so awful. And he smelled like skunk for like a year. My mom took him to the emergency vet. They got him like de-skunked there, and then we had to like continue. It was awful on top of it all. Like once I recovered, great, fine. Then I was like, something's wrong with my 12-year-old molars. Like these aren't facing the right direction. Yes, they pulled my 12-year-old molars up to the wrong direction. So they weren't facing forward. They were like tilted, like basically upside down, or like backwards. So instead of being like this, they were tilted like that because they like forced them into a hole that they didn't fit into, which is why they never had grown in the first place, because they didn't fit. And so I ended up having to get braces put back on the back of my mouth. So they put 2 brackets on the back here and then ones at the top, and I had to wear elastics to try to pull them forward, and I had to do that for over a year and a half. So longer than I had regular braces on my actual teeth, I had to have these back braces on and go through that whole process again. And still to this day, they're tilted, like really tilted, and the gums at the back where they had forced a hole like grew kind of over top of the backs of my 12-year-old molars, so I can't properly brush them. So every time I go to the dentist to get them cleaned, they have to do like a lot of work on those. Like I have impeccable dental hygiene because of all the dental work I had done as a child, like traumatized me. And now I'm obsessed with like brushing, flossing, water pick, rubber picks from those like Orbe rubber picks. Like I do it all. And every time I go into the dentist, I go every 4 months for my cleaning and descaling and all that. And every time I go in, they're like A+. Your gums, your teeth, impeccable. But my 12-year-old molars are always where they have to like dig in and like try to get under the gum that's grown over the backs of the teeth. And they said like at some point they might have to take one of those like cauterizers and cauterize the gum at the back to like get it back over the tooth again so I can properly brush, like if it continues to grow over. Yeah, it sucks. Overall, like it sucks. I'm glad I got them out and done with. Like all my friends 4 years later were starting to get theirs out, and I was like, I'm done. But it sucked. They thought at one point I had a dry socket on my lower right, which is where the pain had all initially started. But no, it was just, thankfully I didn't have dry socket. It was just a mess. Just pain of recovery. So yeah, that was my emergency dental surgery and recovery and how it all went down. Have you had your wisdom teeth removed yet? Do you have impacted wisdom teeth? Did yours grow in? I'm so jealous of everybody who's just like has a big mouth where their wisdom teeth grow in and cause them no problems. You are lucky, my friends. Comment below your dental stuff. Like, have you ever had dental problems? Let me know. We can commiserate the dental pain together. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to check out my most recent dental surgery video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!